Bienvenidos a El Chuco Sportscast con tus anfitriones MarkTep25 y RedMT25. ¿Qué pasó, mi gente? Es MarkTep25 otra vez. Bienvenidos a un otro episodio de El Chuco Sportscast, episodio 26. Soy MarkTep25 y este es mi hermano Mario. ¿Qué pasó, dude?
Not much, bro. It's been pretty crazy, but hey, we're doing well. Glad to be back again, finally.
Fantastico, dude. I'm so glad. I'm glad to be doing another episode of El Chuco Sportscast. It has been a bit. Just a lot going on in my life, and a lot more is going to be happening coming up soon with the school year approaching. But right now, might as well just get some sports in and talk about some sports today. We're going to talk a little bit today about just the overall NBA season, the playoffs, like how our predictions stacked up, and pretty much the series for the finals, the overall stats, and just, talk a bit about that. Then we'll be talking about the WNBA season thus far, and then the Olympics. But that's pretty much what we have going on. But as far as other things, let's kind of get started with La Palabra del Día, the word of the day. La Palabra del Día is actitud, which is attitude. Si no tienes una nueva actitud, no seas feliz. If you don't have a new attitude in life, you will not be happy. So that's the word of the day, actitud.
Es la verdad, bro.
Es la verdad. Ándale pues. So today we're going to be talking about the overall NBA season. In general, it was kind of still sketchy because we were coming off of the previous NBA season with the bubble. Not everything was certain. We were just trying to see what would happen, and everything felt rushed. So, everything started, and, we were expecting, the Lakers to be repeating champs and everybody coming up and about. And then, our team, the Mavericks, they just struggled out of the gate. And I was like, shit, I kind of figured things were going to go south. But, the Mavericks throughout the season, they kind of fought back. And there were a lot of surprising teams, like the New York Knicks. Nobody expected the Knicks to be this good. And, congrats to Julius Randle on being, most improved player. Then the Hawks, this is the deal. I think there's a little bit of a narrative like, the Hawks were bad. Like, no, they started off the season really good. There were early talks about Trae Young having MVP talks. Maybe a little too early, but they were still early. The talks were still there. But overall, the Hawks really, they had a slump, but then they turned it right back around when they hired Nate McMillan. They got rid of the other coach and put Nate McMillan in. And, they just went at it from there. And then the Bucks, everything was still uncertain about the Bucks. We knew they were going to be, again, a good season team, but in the playoffs, people were expecting them to lose again. And then the new additions with a lot of these rookies, they thought, this wasn't a very good, draft class. And a lot of these rookies kind of showed out. You had, of course, Ball, LaMelo Ball, and then you had, oh my gosh. He's from the Kings. Oh, why am I forgetting his name?
Hey, just to go back on Ball for a minute, he did win most improved player at the ESPYs, didn't he?
No. That's Randall, dude. Ball was the rookie of the year.
Oh, that's right, rookie of the year. But still, I just feel like not a lot of expectations were coming from him after.
Nah, dude. Well, no, a lot of people had expectations more for LaMelo than they had for Lonzo. There were a lot of people that knew LaMelo was going to be better. They didn't expect him to be this good this quickly, but they expected him to be better.
Well, I just feel like the whole situation with their family, it was kind of like, we don't know about them. But I'm really happy for him, though, because he really showed off. I guess he kind of proved me wrong in a sense. I thought he was going to be petering off like his brother, but no, I'm happy.
No, he's definitely a better overall passer. LaMelo did get injured at some part of the series, part of the season. And the fact that he, all of that and still won the Rookie of the Year is pretty amazing in itself. Oh, Halliburton is the guy from the Kings. Halliburton really was, kind of under the radar, and then he kind of showed out, and then again he got injured, and that's just again another theme with everything. There was so many injuries throughout the season. That was just another huge thing that occurred. And that's the thing. We can talk about what could have happened, what would have happened. And especially throughout the playoffs, there were just more injuries as the playoffs occurred. We can only say so much about those players. They did what they could. It was a shortened season and it was a rushed season. So I think it was bound to happen, the injuries. Pero ni modo, se lo paso. Like it
Well, I
just
mean, well, when you rush anything, of course you're going to injure yourself. So, I mean, that's just, I guess that's just the nature of the beast, so to speak.
yeah. No, but see, because
So
it was a different type of season, that's just how it was going to be. It was going to be a lot different, and people didn't really know the expectation is, and it does suck. Like a lot of those teams, you could, but see, there's a lot of narrative bending and what ifs, especially when the playoffs hit, in the first round. As a matter of fact, let's kind of get to that real quickly. Let me share the screen because we also record this on Zoom to put onto YouTube. So if you're not seeing a video, it is what it is. And again, the audio is on Spotify Greenroom again. So let's just see. Let me share the screen real quick. Share this. Okay, so this is the bracket, right? So when we first did this, like we did it in a previous podcast, we gave our predictions. So, right here we have the Utah Memphis Grizzlies. Everybody had pretty much Utah winning. I mean, I had them winning, obviously. I mean, and I know, again, they didn't have Donovan Mitchell in the first game, but I knew he was going to come back. So, like, that was no doubt in my mind. As far as the Clippers and the Mavs, a lot of people thought the Clippers were going to, falter again, and they almost did. They were down 0-2, and then they stormed back and won it. And see, that's the thing. I knew as a Mavs fan that the Mavericks were not going to win this series, that it was going to be too good to be true. But I'm glad that they still fought. They still made it a series, and all it takes is just one move. And I hope to God we make that good move this offseason. It is what it's going to be. But yeah, I had the Clippers winning in 6, but they won in 7. Then Denver, I had Denver beating Portland. I mean, Portland was kind of struggling throughout the season, and the fact that Denver didn't have Jamal Murray, I knew that they were going to at least win the first round without Jamal Murray, but the second round I wasn't certain because having being without another star player can only carry you so far. And yeah, they had the MVP in Jokic. That was another thing. Like we had a lot of crazy races for the MVP. Like for a while, like we had Embiid being the front runner. Then he got injured, and then it was Jokic, and then all these other players like LeBron, AD getting injured. So we didn't know who was really going to win. And then just Jokic just showed up. And there are a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, it's one of the most underwhelming MVPs," and it's just like, you all need to shut the fuck up, dude. Like you're gonna blame that on him? Like he showed up. Well, what else? What is he supposed to do?
dude, he was very deserving. I don't understand why people are talking shit about that. I don't get that. I really think that he earned it, man. It's like, come on, man. When it just because it's not the player you like or you were expecting doesn't mean that he's any less deserving. So yeah,
Yeah,
they
and the
need to chill.
statistics dictate otherwise. I mean, granted, I still personally felt it should have been Embiid, but everybody has their reason as to why it's Jokic, and Jokic was deserving. There were a lot of deserving candidates, in my opinion, but I digress from that point. So then we had Phoenix and LA. Everyone had LA winning. Let's not get it twisted. You were the only one, as a matter of fact, that had Phoenix winning, and at the time, I thought that was fucking ludicrous. Let's be real, dude. Loquillo. And then for them to have won, and granted, you could say, oh, well, AD got injured and LeBron wasn't himself. And it's just like, okay, so it's Phoenix's fault. How many years? And see, they neglect to say that Chris Paul also was injured in that series as well. He did play, but he was not himself in that series either. So, like, it goes
Yeah, I
both
mean,
ways.
yeah, it's like, bro. So yeah, I mean, AD getting injured and LeBron not being all there, it's like those factors played into LA just not making it or out of the first round. It just how it went. It's you got to give Phoenix credit. Doesn't mean just because they LA had those problems doesn't make Phoenix any less of a team, dude. They all band together being was it one of the youngest teams in this league. They I feel they proved themselves. They knocking out the defending champs in the first round.
Yeah.
That's no easy feat.
Yeah. And they were second in the league. Like, let's not
Yeah,
get
it's
it
like, look,
twisted. They were
I
not
mean, you
false. They were not fake.
Yeah, it's like you look at the seeds, like they were number two for a reason, and LA was that they they had a good record, but they struggled. That's why they were number seven. So that just shows, it's like, bro, the seedings are they don't lie. I mean, yeah, you may get some surprises, some upsets, but no, it's like that was I feel what was supposed to happen given the seeding. So
And granted, you could say, oh well, LA probably could have been in the top three if they hadn't gotten injured. And yeah, maybe you're right, but that doesn't take away from how good Phoenix is or was. And then yeah, so we move on to the East. I had Philly. Obviously, I think everyone had Philly beating Washington. Let's not get it twisted. It was pretty obvious they were going to beat Washington. And then New York versus Atlanta. It was very up in the air because both teams seemed to be very, evenly matched. But then Trae Young just fucking went crazy and just destroyed the Knicks. And like I kind of wanted the Knicks to win because it'd been so long since I'd seen them win anything, but it just wasn't their year.
well, I give
Uh,
him credit. Well, I do give him credit for finally after so long making the playoffs and actually performing pretty well enough
well, they
to get
performed
there.
okay, like, but
But
Julius
well
Randle
enough.
really
What I mean,
sucked.
I know, but well enough to like get in there because I feel for Knicks fans. It's just been so long since they were good enough to get into the playoffs and at least win a game, in the postseason. So that I give him credit for that. Hopefully that carries on into next year. Hopefully they can maybe go farther, because it seems like New York is finally getting on the right track.
Well, that remains to be seen. It just really depends on if they keep Randall after that lapse in the playoffs. I think they should. I think they should give him another chance because he was just probably not the best matchup, and again, he'll probably improve more. Maybe I'm wrong, but I that's my hope for him.
Well, let's
Um,
hope.
but in the end, the Hawks were just too much. They were an amazing team in that regard. Then you had the Bucks versus Miami, and Milwaukee just swept them. I thought I had this game going to six, but Miami wasn't all there. They just weren't the same like the year
Yeah,
before.
I was
And
not expecting them to get swept this year, but hey, that's what happened.
yeah, and then the Nets versus the Celtics. You could say, oh well, the Nets only won because the Celtics didn't have Brown, and it's just like, I mean, I don't know, man. You could say that the series probably would have gone to seven, but I don't expect the Celtics to outright beat the Nets with the big three that they had.
No.
So yeah, I wasn't expecting that. So I mean, I expected the Nets to win this one. So now the next round, let's stay with the East. Milwaukee versus Brooklyn. I knew this was going to go to a seven-game series, but I actually at one point I had Brooklyn, and they probably would have done it too if Kevin Durant's foot was an inch shorter.
Yeah. I mean, I had Brooklyn as well because they were just doing well. They're on fire with the big three, but when he got hurt, when Durant got hurt, I was like,
No, no, no. Well, but see, Durant didn't get hurt. It was Kyrie and it was Harden. Kyrie got hurt,
oh,
I think,
sorry.
in one of those series. Like I think it was the game before the series, and then Harden got injured at one point, and like he did play a few games, and even being injured, dude, he was putting up some decent buckets. So again, this series could have gone either way. It just happened to go to the Bucks this time, and deservedly so. Like Giannis put up a really good series, and he had to carry that team on his back in that regard. And and then we go to the West, Utah and LA. You know, I for me this series could have gone either way, but I think I had the Clippers. Yeah, I actually had the Clippers going. So I wasn't wrong there. So I was right about like who was going to be in the conference finals at least in one segment, but then the other one was like Phoenix, because again, I thought the Lakers were going to beat Phoenix, but they didn't. So then Phoenix versus Denver. Denver, I wasn't expecting them to get swept. Like that was kind
Me
of crazy to
neither.
me.
Yeah, me neither, dude. It's like after doing a decent performance in the first round, I was like, wow, okay, well, not what I
Yeah, I
would
mean,
thought.
yeah, he was just yeah. Jokic was just overwhelmed, and yeah, Booker was just going crazy. And he's
Yeah.
an amazing player, and I know we'll talk about him a little more in a minute, but that was a really good series for him. And then the Clippers, the Clippers can only come down from 0-2 so often, and they did it all three rounds that they played in. But the thing is, the Suns just kind of put them away after that. They just got took care of it, and Chris Paul had an amazing game, like to seal it. So I was happy for him. And then in the East, you had okay, sorry, let's before I go too far, let's go back to the East. You had Philly versus Atlanta. I forgot to mention them. I'm so sorry. Uh, I thought Philly was going to win this one, but we all know what happened. Ben Simmons just decided to not be
Non-existent.
aggressive. Yeah, exactly. He was non-existent. Like as a guy that's supposed to be one of your star players and a defensive player of the year candidate, you can't you cannot play this way. It's and expect to win. And yeah, he
It's
just
like,
was so
yeah.
passive.
I
And
mean, yeah, he very passive. I mean, there would be times where he had the ball and he was right there at the hoop, and he would pass it off to someone else. Like, bro, you're right there, dunk it. You're right there. Get the layup or something. And he wouldn't do it. He just passed it off. So like, why are you scared to shoot the ball? I don't know what happened, but it's like he just didn't want to score or what. I mean, I don't know what was going through his head, but I just don't know. I hope he's okay, but that was just as a coach, I've been like, well, what are you doing? If I was a coach, I would have probably just benched him the rest of the time because like, oh, you're not. It's like you're not
well,
giving
but
it your
see,
all.
he was still giving you at least something on the defense, so there's at least something to be said there.
But
But
it
like,
wasn't enough, though.
but even then, when he was passing, he wasn't making very like smart passes. He just was making passes to pass. That's just how I saw it. And just again, Trey Young. I mean, because I think even Bogdanovich and Gallinari kind of came alive in this series. Much more Bogdanovich than anything, but like he came alive in this series. John Collins did a little bit better. Just yeah, the Hawks just weren't afraid of anybody this season, especially Trey Young. Trey Young just like he went to the two toughest crowds and shut them up, like New York and Philly, the two toughest fucking crowds in the league, and he shut them up.
Yeah, that's not easy to do, man. And
Yeah,
dude, that guy is going to.
he's gonna be amazing for years to come, dude.
Oh yes, indeed. And that's why Atlanta better hold on to him, man, because I really hope that they keep the pieces they have, maybe add a few things that they need, but they should keep that team intact because they got to the conference finals. I would like to see them try to do it again and maybe get to the finals next year. We'll see.
Yeah. And then as far as Atlanta and Milwaukee, because I already kind of mentioned, I mean, I'll probably mention a little bit more about Phoenix and the Clippers again, but like for the most part, the Hawks they were giving again they were giving Milwaukee a battle, and then you could say, oh well, Trey tweaked his ankle, and I'm pretty certain there was another injury as well for the Bucks that occurred, and it was just like I mean
Well, it
there
was
was injuries all around, and see this is the problem I have with the whole injuries argument. You cannot discount one injury for another, and I get it. There's some players that are not same level, same tier, but an injury is an injury. So like, and every team was playing with some sort of injury. So we cannot,
mm,
just use that as an excuse. And at that point, like Trey still played, he still gave it his all. The Bucks, just in general, in my opinion, were just a better team. Like
they
Giannis was again just really playing his game, and you had Middleton also. Middleton
oh
was
bro.
going crazy.
Bro, Middleton, Portis,
Yeah,
uh
see, and this is what
and
was weird
Drew.
to me. Bobby Portis should have played in the earlier rounds too, man. Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that they like Bud finally decided to play him was ridiculous to me. Bobby Portis is an amazing defensive presence, and he can give you some corner buckets here and there. So
Yeah.
it was a good thing that they finally decided to play him more minutes.
Yeah,
And
they did, man. Sorry to cut you off. It's like, bro, it's like he came alive. A lot of defensive plays. I was like, bro, this guy. I didn't know about him until the conference finals. I was just like, dude, this guy. Where has
the
he
only
been?
reason, yeah, the only reason I knew about him was because of a Rusty Buckets because he was on the Bulls for a bit, and Rusty Buckets would always talk about him. He's like he's one of my favorite players that low key is good, and I was like Rusty is pretty good at what he talks about. He knows his shit, so I was like yeah, I'll take your word for it. And yeah, he didn't disappoint. Like he killed it. Like in these.
Yeah, yeah, he did. It transferred over to the finals, and it showed, man. I mean, Middleton, my lord, dude, he went off. Like when Giannis got hurt, when he hyperextended his knee, we were well worried. Oh crap, what's gonna happen? Did he tear his ACL? Is he okay? and
Yeah.
those guys were able to pick up the slack and just shoot. Like when that game that I think you and I watched, I believe it was you and I, or the game before, Middleton just went off, just knocking down shots like crazy. I'm like, bro, what the hell? This guy is just killing it. And it transferred over into the finals. So, luckily Giannis was not hurt. It wasn't serious. He was okay for the finals, and but yeah, man, you know that was a very entertaining conference finals to watch. Was Atlanta and Milwaukee. I mean, Phoenix and LA was good too, because you just saw Booker and Paul and Aiden just kill it too. But I just feel, just seeing, because Milwaukee, I think a lot more eyes were on Milwaukee because of the same crap that they had to do, not just making it to the playoffs but not getting far. That I think was more entertaining in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely, there was more of a weight on Giannis's shoulders to get them to the finals this year, especially since he re-signed the extension. It kind of, and everyone's making these comparisons to Dirk because it was pretty similar. He was like uncertain of what was going to happen. Should he stay? Should he go? But then he resigns a longer term deal to stay with the team, and then just wins the finals that very year. So it's kind of similar in that regard. But Giannis definitely had an amazing performance. And yeah, we're gonna talk about Phoenix and Milwaukee, the NBA Finals. So I'm gonna change the screen here for those of you that are going to watch the video a little later. So we have, the series kind of playing out like this. Milwaukee won in 6, as a lot of the fans were wanting. There was a lot of cheers. Bucks in 6. I originally had, I mean, not like in our original, but like for when it occurred, I really wanted the Suns to win because I wanted Chris Paul to finally get a ring.
Yeah,
But
I did too.
and it just wasn't meant to be. Like, he in the first game, it looked like he was going to have a great series because he put up like 32 points, like really good game. But then he just, yeah, he since then, I mean, and he didn't have a bad series because if we can see right here, let me go down a little bit. As far as his advanced stats, he was 62% true shooting and 61% effective field goal percentage. He had an amazing series. And like, he was still putting up like, 21 points, like 22 points a game, 8 assists. Like, he had a decent series. It's just there were moments in the series that he was a little passive on. And he also, a big issue was the turnover battle. Like, he had like, I think, let's see, turnovers. Like, throughout the entire series, he had 21 turnovers. But as far as per game, let me see, turnovers per game. I'm not seeing it off the bat. Oh yeah, wait. No. Yeah, no. I'm not seeing the turnovers per game off the bat. But yeah, he had quite a bit. Yeah, I think the turnover percentage was 16%. It's probably the high. Yeah, he had the highest turnover ratio, which sucks because throughout most of the playoffs, he was very efficient. Like, he there were some games he didn't have a single turnover. So yeah, it was just, and people will say, well, he wasn't himself. He wasn't himself. It's like, again, injuries. I get it, dude. But how many times are we going to keep excusing because it's an injury when the majority of the season has been plagued by injuries? You get what you get. You play what you play. You play who's in front of you. Like, you can say that for pretty much any year. Like, and that's the thing. I almost feel so tempted to make a video about injuries. Like, what should they be held to such a high weight when it comes to talking about legacies and shit, or no? Because I don't think that's fair to anybody. Because again, like, and everyone uses this against the Warriors so much because, oh, well, they won because this player was injured. Such and such player was injured in this series. That's why they won. It's like, dude, yes, but what are the Warriors supposed to do? Just like, oh, well, he's injured, we're just gonna fucking fold. No, because then you would have called them frauds. You would have called them garbage. So no, like, that's not a fair argument. That's stupid.
Man, there's
So
just look, man, they're just people that are looking for problems when there are none. It's like, look, it is what it is. That, like you said, you got to deal. A lot of teams got to deal with injuries and got to adjust. And sometimes the other team takes advantage of those injuries, and they win. It's just like
well,
there's
and
nothing you can do
especially
about it.
Well, and especially since throughout this series, throughout this playoffs, and again, it's no fault to the Suns, but if you're going to use that argument for Chris Paul, like there were a lot of teams in the playoffs that they faced that had a lot of players out. Like again, the Lakers with LeBron not being 100% and AD being injured, and then you have the Nuggets who didn't have Jamal Murray, and then the Clippers who didn't have Kawhi Leonard. So again, yeah, you could say, oh well, everybody was injured, but then don't use that argument for Chris Paul in that regard if everyone they faced was injured too. But then there's again, and I'm not gonna be that fucked because there is a flip side to it that Chris Paul has dealt with injury throughout most of his fucking career, and the year he finally at least maintains some semblance of health, he gets to the finals. So that's a testament to him. But in the end, it didn't pan out. It just, I guess, wasn't his time. And as sad it is to say, it may never be his time, which sucks to think. But
Yeah.
and I really hope he finds a team that he can like get a ring on. But part of me wants it to be on a team that he actually puts in the effort, you know, because I don't want it to be like a Dwight Howard thing where he just barely does much. I mean, and he still was at least a decent role, but like it wasn't really much. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It just really depends on if Chris Paul stays with this team, which I think he should,
I agree.
because I mean, if they just add at least another defensive player and they just because another issue with the entire series was just perimeter defense. Because I was sitting there, I was watching some of these games, and like what they did in the first two games, they were good. Like they kept, I mean, they couldn't really contain Giannis because who really can in some regards. I mean, you could say, oh well, in past years they were, but whatever. But this year they just people weren't able to contain Giannis, and again, the issue became the perimeter shooting. Like you had Connaughton knocking down shots. You had Portis knocking down shots in the corner. You had Drew Holiday, who struggled for the most part in this series, nailing shots. I mean, as far as like Drew Holiday, his true shooting percentage and his effective field goal percentage were 44% and 41% respectively. And that's not great, like at all by any stretch of the imagination. It's not the worst thing, but it's definitely not good at all. So
Yeah.
he struggled, but even then he was hitting shots in one of those games. You know, Chris Middleton was killing it. And you know, that's the thing. You got to have a guy. And what pissed me off, like again, the narratives that kept going into this. I I hate people like Kendrick Perkins who try to create this bullshit. Like you do you know what he said? He said
What?
that Giannis is the Robin to Chris Middleton's Batman. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Jesus.
¿Qué clase de estupidez es esto? That is so
Oh
stupid.
God.
And then out of nowhere, oh, Giannis is the greatest player. It's like, dude, you're such a fucking hypocrite. Like you are.
Bro. I mean, was it when the Suns
Yeah, exactly, Nate. Exactly, Nate. Kendrick Perkins is a tool. You're
is
right.
a tool? Yeah, yeah, he is, man. And look, I don't know what it is with him because I would listen to him. He's saying, "Oh, the Suns, they're done. They're not going to win the series after at the Milwaukee has come back." It's like, oh, okay, I see that, but for him to say what you said, because I didn't hear this, that he's Robin to Chris Middleton's Batman. It's like, dude, Middleton is a great player. He was knocking out shots when Giannis went out on injury for a minute, in the conference finals. However, to say that Giannis is not the guy on that team, he is the guy. Uh, Middleton is a role player, but he was one of the best role players to Giannis that I've seen. So, and Giannis, he came back from that knee injury, thank the Lord, and he came back and did a phenomenal performance in this final. So for him to say that, it's like, yeah, dude, that doesn't make any sense. And then, like you said, to flip on that, like, bro, okay,
Well, but see, that's the problem with Kendrick Perkins. He's always flipping his damn takes all the damn time, dude. But that's a lot of people in this media. They just always flip their takes. And again, like for me, obviously, I had no dog in this fight. Like I'm not a Bucks or Suns fan. I was glad with whoever won. I wanted the Suns to win more because again, I wanted Chris Paul to see, to have a ring. But I was not going to be mad if the Bucks won. So if anything,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like,
no, hold on a second,
58.
Mario. Sorry, let me.
What?
A guy wanted to come up and speak. His name is name D for G.
All right, cool. Hey,
Yo,
what's up, man?
what's up, bro?
Oh, dude, what's up?
I haven't seen you in a while.
Thanks, bro. It's been a minute. How you been, man?
I've been all right, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, okay. So my government name is Nasir, but I changed it to
Okay.
my rap name. That's what this is.
Oh,
Name is
okay.
my rap name, and I'm just, I guess just a guy who
Hmm.
likes sports initially, and now as we see this rebrand of what locker room was, and we turn it into green room, I feel like I should step more into the artist side of things. You feel me?
Yeah, I remember when you were on locker room with us, man. Yeah, you were always pretty chill.
I mean, except you when you were like fuck them kids, but
Yeah, yeah.
that shit
Wow.
was so funny, dude. Like that conversation was hilarious, dude. But yeah, overall, Nasir, do you want to go by that, or what do you want to go by, man?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I was asking what you prefer to go by. Is Nasir
Um,
okay?
you can call me Nas. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Nas? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, man. So yeah, we were just talking a little bit about just the overall predicament within the finals, and I kind of want to just hear your take on like just how it went and what you kind of saw a little bit.
I mean, well, initially going into the finals, I personally the the main conversation was because there was nobody who's going to walk away from the finals as like a multi-time winner of a championship. Everybody had a chance to win that first. The conversation was like who deserves it more, right, or who has
Mm-hmm.
more to gain. And I always felt like Giannis, and so I always favored the Bucks in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with Giannis being such a great player individually, easily the best player in the matchup. Like if he just if he gets this W, especially with everything he's been through to get to this point, you know what I'm saying? It changes everything. And now you see it like people are having conversations about Giannis being the best player in the world. Giannis is top 20. Giannis is top 10. Giannis is top three power forwards of all time. Like Giannis has so much going for him right now, and he got 50 chicken McNuggets at Chick-fil-A too. So it's like what I'm saying. Everything is just lit.
That shit was good.
Everything is lit for my boy right now. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, dude. And again, for him being 26 years old, like that's an amazing resume to start off with within the NBA. And he's had his struggles, but it's like how can we really pin that upon him in certain regards? I mean, yes, there were moments he had to like adjust his game, but you know what? For what it was worth, he did at least attempt to shoot. At least he tried to do it. Unlike Ben Simmons, who everyone tends to try to compare him to for some fucking reason.
He at least tries.
Also,
But the thing is, dude.
He, for people to say he has no, as some people like to say, no bag or no skill. I mean, he's a very good post presence, and yeah, there could be more he could do to adjust his game to be an even more like dangerous post presence. But to say he has no skill is very, you know, intellectually dishonest, in my opinion, because a lot of these players have skill to some extent. Maybe skill is just it's relative to what you consider skill.
Well, yeah, I mean, you also got to think it's like, bro, if you have not been watching this playoffs and if you didn't watch the finals, man, then what planet are you on? I really feel that Giannis has come a long way since he started. And, I think his ball movement skills have improved a lot. It could do some work, but what I see how he moved the ball to drive into the paint, if muscles went into the paint, I think it's gotten better. Also, was it earlier on? He struggled with free throws and they would all everyone ragged on him about it, especially for the first two games of the finals. He just was missing terribly, and that's why they would foul him constantly. But the when they came back, when they were up, was it 3-2, and then when they won, especially the last game 6, he could not miss. That's like something lit a fire under him. Like, I got to make my free throws, and he did. So every time they fouled him, they thought they were going to miss, and he would make them. He threw it in their face. Like, oh, you thought I would miss? Oh, here you go. So he has come so far, and in the time that he's been in this league and what he's been through. So yeah, I think it's all well deserved. He's worthy of the title and worthy of the MVP. So kudos to him. I wish him nothing but success in the future.
My thing with the Giannis doubt and hate over the course of these past like 3-4 years since he's like really stepped into being one of the better players in the league is like, first of all, I feel like there's way too much conversations around like great players based around the playoffs and what takes place in the playoffs and in certain situations in the playoffs. Because honestly, like when you just completely erase the regular season from a person's like resume, like it just makes no sense at all. Like that's the proving ground. That's where everybody, what I'm saying, makes their name and that's how they get to the playoffs. Is by playing great in the regular season. And Giannis, arguably in the past 3 regular seasons, or excuse me, 2 out of the past 3 regular seasons, was the best player in the NBA. Like top 3 most dominant scorer, even without having a quote unquote bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Top 3 best defensive player in the league. Like certain conversations that were had because you got the Miami Heat and the Toronto Raptors essentially that put Giannis and the Bucks in general in a box. You know what I mean? They couldn't do anything. That don't take for me, that never took anything away from what Giannis was really doing. Because honestly, and Giannis himself actually put it in the perspective for me personally. They had a conversation about it, some interview he was doing, and he was like, "Yeah, I feel flattered that they need 4 or 5 people to stop me."
Yeah, because I mean, he's just such a hulking presence, dude. Like, as a lot of people have been saying, like he had a Shaq-like performance in these finals, dude. Like going 35, 13 and 5 in the finals, and with 1 steal and 1 block a game, almost 2 blocks a game. That's not something you can say is like minimal. Like this man just put the world on his shoulders and just killed it.
Yeah, he did, man. I mean, but you look at when he started. If you look at because they had a picture of him when he started and now, dude, he put on so much muscle in that time that it's like, well, he needed to, man. It's like as a tall of a guy he is, and what he does, bro, he needed to put that muscle on so he can muscle his way and just bully his way into the paint. And I'm just, at first, like I said, I didn't see enough of that until the last 2 games he plays. Like, yes, bro, you need to get into the paint, just muscle your way through it, get those layups, get those dunks, and he did. It made all the difference, man. So yeah, it was just a great thing to see, man. So yeah, I like I said, I'm not a fan of either team either, but I was happy with the other one winning. And hey, kudos to the Bucks after 50 years, waiting for a title. So
Yeah, and it was a great series. But I think, as far as the unsung heroes, if the Suns had won, I would have said like it was Cam Johnson because he was nailing some fucking threes, like out of no, like just going crazy. But then, for this, as far as unsung heroes for the Bucks, it was definitely Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez because there was a moment he was just going off, like he was just not backing down from anybody. And see, a lot of people sorely underrate Brook Lopez's, impact to a team. Because, I mean, granted, yeah, he wasn't as good from 3 this season, but it's not that he couldn't make them. Like, he made them in very key moments. So that's the thing. If it's not – sometimes when we get caught up in the advanced stats, we tend to forget certain context for those stats. So it's just like, yeah, he may have struggled, but he hit important shots, and that's what matters, that you hit the important shots when you need to.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I know he can hit those shots, but I felt like he needed to do what he did and was get into the paint, get those easy buckets, and he did. So that's why,
yeah, which he did, yeah.
And that's why I'm glad to have seen him come alive, especially when was it when Giannis would come out? It was like, yes, I'm glad to see him pushing himself to get there. And another one, he didn't play as much, but he did knock down some important shots and get it. It was PJ Tucker, and for him.
Yeah,
I feel like it was well deserved as well after seeing all that time in Houston, just not getting over the hump, and it's like, all right, man, nice to see him. Well, I was really disappointed, man. That I forgot that they had Jeff Teague on this roster, and I didn't see him play much at all.
No. They definitely played him in the first few games, but he just he wasn't doing great. Okay, like he's not the same Jeff Teague. And I don't think he ever will be again. Like it is what it is.
But what were you about to say, Nas?
Jeff Light really has the. He's like his game is kind of one of those games that aren't necessarily what you need right now. Like it could work in an off the bench role, but it doesn't really work in reality. Like it works in theory, but it doesn't really plan out because he's like a mid-range scorer who can pass a little bit, but he's not as
Hmm.
effective as he once was. And even at
And
his
he's not a
height,
very good ball handler right now.
yeah, and even at his height,
Mm,
he wasn't necessarily like in his peak. He wasn't necessarily that good. He was like a
yeah.
starter level player. So so for some guys, it's just about that time. But watching that series, like I had a very heated debate about what the Bucks should do after they went down 2-0, right?
Hmm.
And after those first two games, Chris Paul was going crazy. You know what I mean? D Book was going crazy, and the Suns in general were going crazy simply from uh, uh, running pick and rolls, getting switches on Brook Lopez, and just killing. And then, so when we had the conversation, it was centered around starting Giannis at the five, and or playing Giannis the most minutes at the five, and having a more switchable defense out there. And the name that came up in order to change the lineup, like who are we subbing Brook Lopez out for, I said Pat Connaughton. I feel like Pat Connaughton is the guy that can help. Like, obviously, the best option would have been Dante DiVincenzo, but clearly he wasn't there. So Pat Connaughton's your next best option. You got to play him. And they played him 30 minutes a night from that game on, and it worked out. Like, they swept.
Yeah, it was a great Yeah, it was a great adjustment, which for a while, a lot that was the huge criticism on Budenholzer. And that's what I was about to get to, like the coaching. Like that was a great adjustment. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, that makes him like the greatest coach. No, but I think a lot of times people wanted to say that he's a shit coach, which I don't agree with, because you don't just lead. And people say, oh, well, that team was a fraud team. But come on, dude, leading a team to 60 wins without superstars is impressive within itself. You cannot say that that's not a good coach. Like, and granted, yes, he had his issues later on that he was becoming more like passive or complacent, but he was never a bad coach. Just didn't adjust well. But now
No,
he
I
did,
mean,
and look where we're at.
yeah, it's like, he learned from one of the best coaches in the league, one of the most winningest active coaches in the league today, Pat Popovich. It's like, come on,
Yeah,
man.
Greg Popovich. Yeah,
He's just like, I think he was a good coach. I think he always has been. I know he's had his struggles, was trying to find out what works, and lo and behold, he was able to do it. And look, now he's got a title under his belt as a head coach. But it's just kind of funny just watching him, almost every game, especially during the postseason. It just feels like he was just feel like he was just shitting bricks every time I just see his expression. He's like, oh crap, oh
well,
shit, oh
because
shit, oh
dude,
shit. Because I
he's
feel like, yeah, if he doesn't win, that he's on the chopping block. But I'm
well,
happy for him that
exacto,
he
dude.
did.
Yeah, that's exactly
it's
why he
like
was shitting bricks. He was
it's
gonna.
like I couldn't help but look at him. It's like, man, I feel for you, bud. But it was just funny a little bit. But hey, it all worked out in the end, and he got it. So
Yeah,
more.
and that's the thing. Sorry, you first. Yeah, and here's the thing. Like in the end, people are like, well, they should still fire him after winning the finals, and it's just like, I see where you're
What?
coming from. Look,
Why?
I see where you're coming from. But the thing is, the optics would be very bad if you fired the coach you just won a championship with.
I'm
But
sorry, but who the hell would? Why would you say that?
well, because again, it's because at the time, again, he just wasn't making a lot of adjustments, and there were a lot of games that they could have lost because of his lack of adjustment. That's really what it amounts to. So I get it from
Okay.
that perspective, but at the end of the day, you still won. He has a championship under his belt. If a couple years down the line he's still garbage and they fuck up, then I'll be like, yeah, fine. And again, I shouldn't have said garbage. If he's not performing to a higher standard, if he's being mediocre as a coach down the line, then yes, you take that into consideration and you fire him. But right now, No, you don't fire him because you just came back from an 0-2 deficit. Like you don't just do that. I mean, and granted, yes, you could say, oh well, because of his players, and yes, that's true. But he did personally make adjustments as well. So you cannot say that he didn't do anything because he did make those adjustments in that
I
series.
mean, you could say that. You could say that about almost every coach that has ever gone, into the playoffs or fall or even won a title. It's like, yeah, every coach has, you know, not made adjustments or something. They lose some games that they should have won, but that's no room. That's not means to fire them at the end. It's like, come on, man.
Well, okay, but
Unless they're really sucking, later. You got to give him time. He just came off a championship. Like you say that he should be fired. No, that's just stupid. You got to see if he, like you said, if he doesn't carry that same kind of initiative into the following years and doesn't win and they suck, then that's one thing. But no, come on, that's very premature to
well,
do.
yeah. I mean, but what I'm saying when you're saying every coach at times doesn't make adjustments. I mean, yes and no. There are times that there are obvious adjustments that need to be made, and a coach doesn't do it. Because again, for earlier in the playoffs, there were a lot of times where he seemed complacent and not making adjustments. It only became prevalent when he was really about to start losing a series that he would finally make an adjustment. And that's not when you make adjustments. You should always be looking to make an adjustment, and he didn't for a while. That was the issue. So I can understand why people say that they shouldn't maintain him, but again, the optics just wouldn't look good. So you give him another opportunity. And if he fucks up, then yes, you fire him. But otherwise, no, you don't fire the guy who helped you win. And again, whether his role in it is not as big as like the player's role in it, you still keep him because he at least made some adjustments. You got to reward good behavior, right? Because otherwise, then you're just fucking over anybody who makes a mistake, and that's not how you do things. That's not how you do business.
The conversation is going to be centered around Giannis when that conversation comes up. It's going to be about
Yeah,
how Giannis feels, what Giannis wants to do.
exactly. That's another
Because
thing too.
yeah, because if Giannis feels like, yo, I'm sticking beside Bud, I don't want any other coach but Bud, then they better not fire Budenholzer. Period.
Exactly.
Because Giannis will
Exactly.
be up and out.
Yeah, I feel this is kind of like, if the Bucks were to win several more titles in the coming years, I feel the same way. Like, Giannis, like if he just only wants to play for Bud, and yeah, don't fire him. It's almost like that same situation that you bring that up, like what happened with Michael Jordan and the Bulls with Jackson. It's like kind of similar to that when their manager was like he wanted to fire him. Like, hell no, I don't want to play for him and him alone. Like it, kind of remind me of that if it were to get to that point with Giannis and the Bucks. But
Well,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, but that's mere speculation. What Nas said, but I like
I know.
in
It's
in
like
the in
like
the in the end, like but he is right in the fact that it does depend on what Giannis says. If Giannis is
yeah,
like, nah, fuck him, but then it's like, okay, yeah, I guess. But if Giannis is totally set on having, but then yeah, you listen to your star player. You obviously listen to your star player in that regard.
right. I
You
know.
know,
That's what.
and that's why it was a little bit frustrating that the Mavs went the way they went. Like, because people were like, granted, I'm not saying they should have gone with Mosley, but I'm saying they should have at least, but they should have read the room a little bit better on that one. Is all I'm saying. I know we keep coming back to the Mavs because again, we're Mavs fans, but it's just one of those things. Like you can't, you have to listen to your star player in certain regards. Like, I mean, yeah, there are certain limits, but for the most part, you do listen to your star player.
Yeah, it's got to be. You know, got to have everyone's input. Can't just turn a blind. You can't just turn a deaf ear to. Just a select few. It's like, come on now. But
Yeah,
anyway, I
exactly.
mean, still, congratulations to the Bucks for winning a title after 50 years. Well deserved, and I wish Giannis all the success in the world and just pray that they, hopefully he stays with the Bucks, man. Maybe
Dude,
you
he
never
already
know. They
has a
could,
long. He
yeah, he
already
could.
has a long-term contract, dude. Like, so he's there. He's there with the
How
Bucks.
long is his contract?
I think he
I
has
can't remember, but
he signed a 5-year extension
5 years.
this
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
year.
5 year
5 year
extension.
extension. Well,
So
Well,
I
I
wish
wished
him.
him. Yes, sir. I mean, I wish him, a long, successful career with them. The term of the contract, and hopefully the Bucks. You never know. Maybe they could turn it into a dynasty with
Who
them.
knows?
now that's a perfect transition because that's exactly what I was about to get into. I mean, they won a championship, and as all the champions have said before, winning a championship only lasts until training camp. And then
Yeah,
it's time to go try to win another one. And that's my
Yeah.
question to
yeah.
y'all. Do y'all think that the Bucks actually have a legitimate, not even a legitimate shot? Are they favorites to win the championship next year?
A lot of, I mean, with the Nets and the Lakers still being around, I don't think they're the top favorites. They're probably in the top three, maybe four, but I don't think that they're the favorite. A lot of people probably have the Nets being the favorite next year when they have their squad healthy. But again, it's going to be an interesting offseason because we have to see what moves are being made. But I think really the Nets are the front runners right now.
Well, I mean, I still consider the Bucks, in the top conversations along with the Nets, to go back and repeat again for the finals. But I'm not going to count the Nets out too, because if Durant, Irving, and
Harden.
and Harden, sorry, just trying to remember, if they can stay healthy and work towards maintaining their health throughout the season, and everyone else steps up around them if they were to go down, I think they have a good shot. They looked good. Like I said, I had predicted the Nets going to the finals because they were looking so damn good. But then when Irving went down, Harden went down, and Durant was faltering, it's like, oh, that's what did my prediction
I
in.
mean,
But
I wouldn't say faltering. I mean, he struggled, but he wasn't horrible. Like, he still put the team pretty much near the end.
no, I
It's
mean,
just,
okay, maybe faltering was a bad, wrong word, but it wasn't enough, for him
yeah,
to,
no, no, exactly. It just wasn't enough. But the only reason why I say 3 or 4 is because right now, dude, the Hawks are one of those sleeper teams because the fact that they got to the conference finals in itself is also very.
Mark,
Crazy in
Mark,
itself.
Mark, Mark.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, man. The Hawks.
I
The
mean, come
Hawks, bro.
on, dude. They've proven a lot. I mean, and granted, you
They
could say,
didn't
"Oh,
prove
they're based on the."
anything. The only thing that they proved is that Ben Simmons might need to be traded from the Sixers. That's it.
Okay, granted. I mean, granted, I wasn't finished like speaking because there's other teams I didn't keep into consideration, like the Celtics. The Celtics with Brown back could make a good run. I mean, and again, it depends on what happens with the Sixers. But I say them again, just as a sleeper team. They have the ability if they just put one more piece around that could help them. But in the end, again, I still see the Nets as the front runner in the league. And again, the Lakers, they're kind of up in the air right now because again, it depends on how LeBron performs next year. And again, we can never count LeBron out, but again, time marches on and we don't know how he's going to be next year. AD, I think is going to come back healthy, but then again, what do the Lakers do in the offseason? What are their moves that, push the needle in their direction? Um,
But yeah,
I've
what
been
were you about to
thinking
say,
about.
Nas?
I've been thinking about potentially, or not. I think that the Lakers should go after Kimba.
After Kemba
Kemba
Walker.
Walker.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I think with Kimba's kind of around the league value being so low, but then like his talent level not really like his talent level is pretty much the same. It's just a couple injury concerns, which everybody has
Hmm.
injury concerns at this point, and specifically this season, everybody had injury concerns. So it's like these past 2 years have been crazy. I think this is gonna be the first time where guys have like a legitimate offseason plus, training camp, like all that good stuff. So I think guys will be ready for next year, and I think they should go after Kemba because they need that third guy.
Hmm.
Like I had faith in like this year. I had the Lakers as my championship favorites up until the Nets made that decision, and I had faith in Brian and Anthony Davis getting it done, but seeing them break down, it's like you need another guy. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
need
you
another
definitely
guy
do.
just in case. And even if it's one of those situations where one guy's hurt and the other two are healthy or whatever the case may be, at least you have that guy. And also the Lakers just really invested in some bad fits to their team, and they need to kind of rectify
Yeah,
it.
in general, they just pretty much de- they depended on LeBron and AD to carry everything, and that's not a recipe for success in any stretch of the imagination. Um, in the end, like I can see Kemba, but what I mean, because the biggest name, at least to me, that's floating around is Kyle Lowry. Everybody kind of wants Kyle Lowry right now. Do you think Kyle Lowry would be a better fit, or do you think Kemba would still be the better fit overall?
Now, if they can find a way to get a sign and trade done for Kyle Lowry, because that's the thing, Kyle Lowry is a free agent.
Yeah, for
So
it.
if there's a way where they can get the sign and trade done, then absolutely you got the Kyle Lowry before anybody else. But I don't necessarily see that happening. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they can really get
Yeah,
that
because they
trade
have to
done.
have a sign and trade. Okay, I get you. Yeah, that
Exactly.
makes
So,
sense.
but I know they could probably, you know what I mean, package some of these things that they got right now that aren't necessarily the best fit for them, like Kuzma, like Trez, and package that up and send it over to OKC and get Kemba. And that's an easy, clean swap.
Do you think they can find a way to do that without giving up like THT?
I don't care if they give up THT. I don't know if they
Okay,
care
cool. I was
about.
just
Yeah, I don't know if they care about giving up THT. More than likely they do. But me personally, like you have LeBron on your team. I, you could draft another guy later on. Like you're probably when LeBron retires, you're probably going to be mid anyway. So like
yeah.
it's fine, bro. Like just you could just wait it out because as solid as Taylor Horton Tucker is, like he's not a superstar. He's not a star, a budding star, none of that. Like this is a guy who's coming off
Mm-hmm.
the bench, getting 20 to 25 minutes a night. That we don't. That's not really that important to
Yeah,
me.
I
I
If I'm
figured as much, but it's just I don't know. It's just there's a lot of fans that I've seen like on Twitter and all this other stuff that are really interested in maintaining him. And I get it. You need decent like supporting pieces, but it's just like for a name player like that, you got to be willing to give up a good amount just to get something better. I mean, because that's the thing. Like for at least for the Mavs, like people like Maxi Kleba, they like Dorian Finney-Smith, they like Dwight Powell. But come on, if there was a trade where we can get a star player that included those players, I'm fucking shipping those players. I'm sorry, because like you gotta get competitive at this point, and if that's the way to move the needle, then that's the way to move the needle. That's just the thing. Like we get it. Like yeah, those supporting pieces are important, but if you are able to get a star player that's going to put you in a good position to win, you fucking do it. Period. You don't miss out on opportunities like that.
the
I
I
mean,
idea
mean,
is if you're looking at a guy's peak, like for me, Taylor Horton, his peak is slightly above average, maybe right. So that puts him at starter to maybe all star. I don't really um that isn't enough for me to say, all right, we're gonna stop or we're gonna not try to win right now with LeBron probably on his last to second to last contract and Anthony Davis because who knows what his health is gonna look like in the next 5 years and trying to win a
yeah,
championship
exactly.
right now. Like no, mm-mm.
yeah, was it like what you were saying, Mark? It's like as much as I like certain players, but you're right. If you're gonna find a player that's gonna put you in a position to win, then you're gonna have to sacrifice, some players to get him. But also at the same time, it's like if you do that, I would also say also make sure you got the supporting pieces to put around that star player. So that way you're not just constantly relying on him because there's only so much he can do before either one, he gets injured or sick or whatever. You're gonna need that supporting cast around them as well. So that's what I'm saying. We also gotta, take that into consideration so that way it that player that you want to put you to win is has that support if you were to switch him out, stuff like that.
I know, but what the thing is about that though is if you're gonna put those three like supporting pieces, if those three supporting pieces do not have the output of one player, like that's not good to keep, dude. Like, say for example, if somehow those pieces that I just mentioned were able to get, like, say, Damian Lillard to come to us. Again, these are hypotheticals. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But say if we did that, we pulled off some fucking crazy ass trade that included those three players and a couple picks to go to Portland to get us Damian Lillard, and we still managed to somehow keep Kristaps Porzingis, which probably would not happen in any real world, but say it does, then you're looking at three, like, players that are, a three-headed monster with Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic, and if Kristaps can actually get his shit together, KP. But again, it's dependent on what the output is. If those three players are not giving you the output of one player, then it's really not worth keeping. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. It's just what I mean is also then you find supporting players, role players to put around that star player. Is what I mean. If they're
Yeah, I
not,
mean, and those are not extremely hard to find, but they're not like I can see what you mean. Like, not all of them are going to be as solid as, say, a PJ Tucker or who's another solid, like, role piece.
I can't
Jay
think.
Crowder.
Yeah, Jay Crowder. Yeah,
bro, that's what I was saying to you before. It was a big mistake that Dallas got rid of Jay Crowder. They should have kept him. And look at where he
well,
is now.
well, that's just oversight by the Mavs front office. That they've done that for years. There's still been a
I
lot of
know,
players they
but
just let go for no fucking reason.
I know, but I'm just restating that because, like, man, because when he came into the league 10 years ago, it's like, bro, this guy's
Good, and
They
then
they traded him for Rondo, right?
Yeah, they traded him in the
yeah,
Rondo trade, like, to
yeah, I
get
believe
him
it
and Dwight
was for
Powell.
Rondo. Big mistake, big mistake.
Well, I mean,
Um,
not so much of a big mistake because, I mean, they had decent seasons, but they just, again, you can only give so much credit to certain players. Who, depending on how it would have worked out, because, again, Rick is not always one of those guys that really is in the business of developing players. I don't think he would have developed the same if he had stayed in Dallas. That's the problem we have to think about. It's also the culture, what the coaches and the organization, what their focus is on, and they didn't see Jay Crowder in their plans. So that's just it is what it is. I mean, and again, who knows if he would have been the same player if he stayed in Dallas? I would like to think so, but I don't know if that would have ever been the case. So and then again, if say it did work, we probably wouldn't have gotten a player like Luka. So, and that's the thing. We always like to say that because 10 years have passed and now we got a budding superstar. But in the end, you just got to take it as it is. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe in some form or fashion, we managed to get a trade to get Jay Crowder back. Which again, these are all speculation. There's so many things we can think about, but again, it has to fucking happen. We can talk all day about these trades and about all these presumptions, and it is what it is. The Mavs just got to make some fucking moves. But overall, the Bucks, what do they do going forward? I mean, I think they stay packed. They may get one or two, like, two better pieces that kind of help move the needle. And granted, they're also going to get DiVincenzo back, so that adds another shooting element. So I think for the most part, the Bucks are okay. The Suns moving forward, I don't know what they do, but they definitely, I think I said earlier, they need to get better perimeter defense because they out of nowhere just started faltering. They kept letting players shoot, and that's what killed them. The turnovers and then the bad perimeter defense.
as far
So
as
what they? Oh my bad. So what I've been hearing is like, or not what I've been hearing, but the conversation that has been being had around the Suns is what to do about Chris Paul. Um, and the reason why I say that is because as great as Chris Paul has been this season, he's old, and he probably has maybe 2 to 3 years left before it's kind of time to either A, call it quits, or B, change his role, right? Where he's not starting point guard that's super productive that we can rely on, but, backup point guard that, is providing some leadership. Because that's all we talked about this season was Chris Paul's leadership. But um I think that for me, if I'm in this situation, like, no matter what, you're gonna have to keep Chris Paul to at least next season. But I was hearing some people talk about 3 years, 100 million. I was hearing some other people talk about Just basically just giving him, just throwing money at him, like whatever money he asks for, just give it to him. And that's not something that I necessarily agree with. He has a $43 million player option,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so for this next season coming up, and I would assume he would take that unless he can get the long term deal. And basically, where my head is at is I don't think the Suns should give him a long term deal. Like anything past
Yeah.
2 years, I wouldn't be comfortable with.
I agree because you have to move forward and you have to get younger because the more you maintain something and it doesn't lead to any success or any sort of change, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah, I would not give Chris Paul any more money. Like, if granted, if he had won the finals, if they had won the finals, then I'd be like, all right, whatever. He's got his ring. But if if he didn't, I mean, but since he didn't, like, I wouldn't give him that kind of money. That's just
Yeah, because
Asking
sometimes
for trouble.
you do gotta reward. Like sometimes you giving money to a guy. Well, no, I'm a firm believer that if you're a GM, you always have to give money to the guys who have proven something, right? Who have
Mm-hmm.
You're rewarding them with this bigger contract. So if it's a guy who didn't necessarily win a championship, but he established
Proved his
himself
worth.
as a starter level player in the league, or as a legitimate three and D guy, or established himself as a star level player in this league, whatever the case may be, I'm giving him money in response to that. You see what I'm saying? So if Chris Paul wins a championship, yes, you give Chris Paul money in response to that. But Chris Paul doesn't win the championship, so now you kind of got to really take a legitimate look. And I think both of these teams have to look internally because honestly, neither one of them were necessarily supposed to be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Barring injury, like the Nets beat the Bucks by like 50 without Harden. You know what I mean? So it's like these teams weren't necessarily supposed to be here, but here they are. And if I'm a GM, I also have to take that in consideration too. So if I'm looking at Chris Paul and what I'm doing moving forward, like I said, I'm not comfortable with giving him more than a 2 year deal. Like I would give him the KD deal, the 1-and-1.
Yeah,
That's what I
I
would do.
would too. Only because you just want to at least give him a chance to see it. But if it's just if he demands too much, then yeah, that's not worth having. Like he has to know his own role at this point as well too. Like, and he's not a horrible player. He's obviously created success wherever he's gone, but he's not young anymore. You got to just keep that into consideration. You're right, Nas. Yeah,
Now,
well,
if I had it completely my way, like if Chris Paul didn't have a player option, he was just a free agent, I wouldn't even try to resign, or I wouldn't try to resign Chris Paul. I would go after Alonzo Ball. I would join those sweepstakes.
yeah, that's true because he's younger. He's a very good passer, taller defender, so that does help, and he's gotten a lot better shooting in the past couple of years. So yeah, I mean that would be a good way to go if that was the situation. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean it is a predicament. I mean, I would say yeah, Paul's got at least 2 or 3 years left, and but I feel that he was able to make it this far with Phoenix. He finally made it to the big dance with Phoenix. I feel he should stay maybe another 1 or 2 years and try again because he hasn't been able to get this far with any other team. So we'll see what happens, man. I mean, we'll see what this offseason has in store, especially after the draft, and then I don't when free agency takes place.
I don't know. It's like I think maybe a week or so after the draft.
I know that the
Free
draft
agency,
is this week.
I think it's August 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I mean, I feel that Phoenix should at least try to hold on to Paul maybe another year or two max. But yeah, I agree with us. It's like you can't just throw money at someone like Chris Paul. He has proved his worth. He proved a lot of people wrong. A lot of people are like, oh, he's not going to make it, and he did, but he didn't win. So it's like you got to assess it very carefully. Since like I said, he's 36 now. He's not that young anymore. So yeah.
Because you
I
can put yourself in a bind moving forward if you sign a player like that, especially if he wants that much money. Like you're kind of fucking up your cap space and kind of screwing yourself for the long term. So that's just
right.
kind of what it is.
Because if he doesn't produce, then it's like that's money wasted. So Yeah. Well, we'll see, man. I wish him the best. I hope that in the next 2 to 3 years that he's able somehow to win it. I pray that he does.
Hmm. But yeah, as far as like the overall NBA season, the playoffs and the finals, it was. I know people are gonna say otherwise. I thought it was an amazing like postseason and finals.
Yeah.
I thought so myself. Barring the injuries, I still thought it was entertaining. I still liked what I saw. It was different. It was new, and I enjoyed it. Like granted, my
Same.
Mavs didn't go far, but you know what? I enjoyed every minute of it. And there's some people that didn't. Whatever, that's your deal. But I thought it was a better finals than most people made it seem like it was.
No, I agree too. I thought it was, it's not the same teams. It was very, very cool to see, especially Phoenix after 12 years, finally get over the hump, and then Milwaukee after 50 years. Just like, yeah, this was very cool to see.
I think it's always interesting to kind of take a step back and look at how fickle human beings are. Like when you,
Yeah.
generally speaking, like, all right, so y'all know about the conversation that's been had for the past few years about seeding in the playoffs and like whether or not we should go to 1 through 16. Um, and the East is not as strong as the West and all that BS, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the basis of those conversations are centered around what we want to see the best two teams in the finals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, when you look at before 2019, we saw the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Golden State Warriors in the finals 4 years in a row, right? And everybody
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, we're tired of this. Super teams are trash. They're ruining the league. Blah 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 blah." But what do we see? The best two teams in the NBA going at it every year in the championship.
Mm-hmm. That's
So it's
right.
just interesting to me where you see now, is I forgot what the word is that they use, but basically it's like fair in the league now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the parody.
Every team, yeah, parity. That's the word. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's everybody has a chance. Blah 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 blah. Like, but what we didn't see was the two best teams in the NBA go at it, and that's kind. I feel like it was entertaining, definitely, but I would have preferred to see the Nets versus the Lakers. Me personally, I think that would have been crazy. Like, but all in all, it still turned out entertaining. I'm still satisfied with what the product was. Because you can't go back and change nothing. So, and at the end of the day, it's still NBA basketball, and they still have
Mm-hmm.
some great players playing. So,
Yeah, and I see what you're saying, Nas. It's just for me when it comes to this, I'm not focused on like names, like the big names. I'm focused on, hey, how well did they play? What did they do? How did they get there? And granted, yeah, injuries do play a part of it, but I think we sometimes we give too much credence to injuries because at the end of the day, you still got to play. Whatever happens, happens. You play your game. And
Yeah.
in the end, like I'm just wanting to see great basketball played. Whether if it's just because the Lakers and the Nets, by name and by I guess stat sheet and by roster are better. They in the end, whoever was the best, whoever won, they're the best. They made it in their own way, and I get it. There's a lot of nuance to it, but I think the two best teams in that moment were there, and people can say that as they will. And I don't know. I liked it. I like to see basketball, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's the Lakers versus the Nets or my Mavs versus some other team or two teams that underdog teams. I don't mind any of it. Is the thing. I'm not as fickle as most people. I will. I mean, granted, yeah, for a moment, yeah, the Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers were getting redundant, but I still enjoyed it. I still love watching the game. That's just how I am. I will never discredit anything if it's basketball. Like I'm gonna watch the game no matter what. That's just how I
I
am.
couldn't
Ball
I
is
couldn't
life.
agree. Well, no, I couldn't agree more, man. It's like people forget. I think people lose sight of that. It's like we're here to watch the game. It should be, what's the saying go? It's about the journey, not the destination. It's about the process, man. How did they get there? When we get lost in, like you said, about these names, this drama, the BS
The
that
narratives.
the narratives. Yes, because there are narratives, and of course, ESPN and all the other sports channels do a good job about this. Like, dude, that to me is completely irrelevant. I'm here to watch the game and enjoy it. All that other stuff is just noise. So yeah, you know, I really was happy with the way the playoffs turned out. It was very cool to watch because that's how it all is. There can only be, as I say, there can only be one winner. Um, only two people in the end go at it, and only one winner. And you just got to take it for what it is in the end. So.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting year next year because again, it's still another quick turnaround. Draft is coming up this week. Free agency on the 1st, and yeah, it's all being sped up just so we can get back into a better, like a regular routine. Whether that's good for the league or not, it remains to be seen. And just in the end, I'm excited. Like I will always be excited to watch some NBA basketball. But now, for the time being, at least it's the season and all that is over. So for the time being, we're going to talk a little bit more about like other sports, like maybe a little baseball, maybe a little football. But we still have some WNBA stuff that I kind of want to just talk about a little bit. And Nas, did you still want to chill on with us, or what did you want to do, my guy?
I mean, it's cool. I'm rocking.
No problem. Awesome. Let me just see. Whoa, what happened there? Hold on. Google. Okay, there we go. Sorry. I shared the screen and some weird shit happened. Anyhow, okay, so yeah, the standings for the WNBA. Because I've been trying to follow it a lot more. It's, especially with the Dallas Wings being there. I actually, as a matter of fact, I didn't get a chance to talk about it. And another guy would like to come up and speak. Alex Edwards. ¿Qué pasó, Alex? How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hey, man, nice to hear from you. So tell us just a little bit about yourself before we continue.
I live in DC.
Nice.
And I like sports and anything about sports. Even if I don't necessarily know everything about that sport, I just like learning about it.
Yeah, same here,
Awesome,
man.
man.
We love sports here, man. I know I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about basketball. Football, I know a good amount of as far as like how the game is played, but as far as like the contracts and all that, I haven't been able to keep track of it because there's just so much that goes on with that. Hockey and baseball, I watch sparingly because it's just been so long since I've really kept up with it. I mean, as far as baseball, I'm a huge Rangers and Diamondbacks fan, and as far as hockey, we're Dallas Stars. But what are your teams, man?
As for basketball, I'm a Clippers fan.
All right.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Hey,
Just
man.
kidding, man. No. For football, I'm a Falcons fan. It's quite tough to be a Falcons fan nowadays, but it's okay.
Yeah, the Falcons have been, man, they were like prominent, and then just out of nowhere, man, they just started falling. Now Julio Jones is gone. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, they haven't been the same since they went to the Super Bowl. I was really disappointed that they didn't win, but hey, hopefully they're able to turn it around because they were a pretty decent team for the longest time. It's just damn.
Yeah. And for baseball, for hockey, I don't really follow as much, but for baseball, I believe the last team that I was like really, really interested in was the Braves, but I haven't been watching a whole bunch recently.
Okay.
Yeah, the Braves have been pretty good. Oh, speaking of baseball, before we move on, or actually, hold on, let's wait. Hey, Nas, I forgot to ask all that of you, man. I'm sorry. I feel so rude. Well, what are your teams, man? What teams do you rep?
All right, so anything that's involved with Philly, I'm a fan of. The only real sport that I care about, like that I actually care about, is basketball. Like I actually love the game. I play it. Like all the rest of the sports, like they exist and it's cool, but I don't really be paying attention too much. I used to be a huge football fan, but pretty much after the Kaepernick situation, I kind of veered off from the NFL. But yeah, anything Philly involved. I'm talking about the Philadelphia Soul, the Philadelphia Union, the Phillies, the Flyers, anything with a Philly in front, I'm rocking.
Yeah, I got you, man. That's how we are about Dallas.
Yeah,
That's how we are about Dallas and El Paso sports too. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, that's awesome, man. So then, as far as just to kind of segue, we're gonna talk about a little bit about the WNBA standings thus far. So right now, the Seattle Storm are first in the league. So it looks like the Connecticut Sun have kind of dropped a spot or two. The Vegas Aces, like for a while, they were struggling at the beginning, but now I think they've kind of come into their own. Man, the Dallas Wings, it's like there are moments where they look like they're strong, and then there are moments they just are horrible. Because I actually, the game I went to, it was against the Chicago Sky. It was the first meeting with the Chicago Sky, and it was cool to see Candace Parker play. I thought that was awesome. Like, you don't get to see that every day. And yeah, the Chicago Sky were just killing them in the first half. Granted, there were a lot of bad calls, I will admit. Like, there was literally like someone fucking KD step out of bounds shit. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, how the hell do you not see that? Like, right in front of you. And yeah, everybody was pissed. And yeah, just quite a few like ticky-tack fouls that just made absolutely no sense. Like, fue una desmadre, güey. It was a bit of a mess, that game, but it was fun. It was fun because it was my first time there. I was really into it. I was really excited. Wnba is fucking amazing, dude. Speaking of Wnba, at the All-Star game, I think she won the All-Star MVP. She killed it against the because this year what they did, it was, you know, the WNBA All-Stars versus the USA women's team. So pretty much All-Stars all around, but like they had the women's USA team play against the other All-Stars. And the All-Stars women won, and Wnba was leading the charge on that. So it's nice to see a Dallas Wings player win an All-Star MVP. You know, I'm really excited, man. And dude, yeah, I got to see Kayla Thornton, man. She fouled out in that game that I went to see, which pissed me off because two of those fouls made absolutely no sense. Like, dude, like, it fucking made me mad.
I can imagine. Next time when another game is happening, let me know. We'll try to get tickets and go because I really would like to see a WNBA
Claro,
team
bro.
for the
It's
first
at
time.
your old stomping grounds at the University of UT Arlington, man, where you graduated from. Like, that's where they play, in their stadium.
Right. No, yeah, I know. It's just keep me posted on when they're playing, so that way, you know, you can come up and then we'll go watch a game because I've only seen, you know, women's college basketball, but not, you know, professional basketball. So I really would like to see how it's like.
Yeah, dude. Like, it was a lot of fun. There was really good ball movement overall. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be missed shots here and there, but that's when I hate when people complain about that. It's like, dude, I've seen bad shots in the NBA. The WNBA is not a big deal to me. Like, if they miss shots, they miss shots. Everybody misses shots. So I just, like, I took it with, you know, a positive mindset, and it was hella fun. Like, seeing, I mean, it wasn't Candace Parker's best game, but she still like put up some like decent passes, and like her post, she has really good post moves, dude. Like, it was fun to see Candace Parker go off. As far, I mean, she didn't have put up that many points, but she was like getting it done in other aspects. And then yeah, the very next game that they did lose, Candace Parker like put up, I think, 24 points and all that shit. But even then, still a good game. Even though the Wings lost, and I will admit, the Wings did not do themselves any favors in that game, so it kind of is what it is. But hopefully, moving forward, I get to see more. But as far as where they stand, they're 9-12, so ninth in the league. So still kind of semi-bottom, but not horrible. I mean, if they win a couple of games, they're in the middle of the pack. But as far as the top 6 teams right now, it's the Storm, the Aces, the Connecticut Sun, the Minnesota Lynx, which is weird to me. They really fucking turned it around. They were horrible at the start of the season. Then they just turned it around. Good for them. Chicago Sky and the Newark Liberty. Yeah, Ionescu is an amazing player. Like, she's going to be something moving forward in years. Like, she has amazing passing skills, like great court vision. Because I saw a clip of the New York Liberty versus the Dallas Wings, like when it was slow at work, and dude, like some of the passes she would make, like freaking like long court passes, beautiful, like well timed, perfectly accurate. She's going to be an amazing fucking player moving forward. And then as far as the Aces, Liz Cambage, she is tall, dude. Like, I think LeBron and Wade went to a game and she stood next to them. She was almost practically their height, dude. It was crazy.
How tall is she? Because I know LeBron is, I think, 6'8".
Let's see, Liz Cambage.
I know LeBron, I believe, is 6'8". if I remember correctly. I could be mistaken, but that's what I call. And I think was it Dwayne Wade? He's
I
like more
don't.
like 6'3", 6'4". No.
I can't remember. Hold on. Liz Cambache. Let's see, Liz Cambache. She's 6'8". Yeah, so yeah, pretty much LeBron's height.
Oh wow.
That's awesome. Like it's because I see her in some like games because there was sometimes I would just watch random games and yeah, dude, like she just bullies everyone. Like and the fact that she has so much fun while doing it is it's refreshing to see. Like I love it.
Can
Yeah.
I ask some? So what
Yo, what's up?
happened to Elena Deladon?
Oh, Della Don was injured for a bit, but I think she came back, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's back off of injury.
Because the reason why I asked is because I was looking at the like some of the best players in the league for the WNBA, like statistically, and the second name I saw was Tina Charles, who's
Hmm.
second in league efficiency rating this season. Right now, she averaging 26, 10, and 2 with a steal and a block on 47% shooting from the field, 37% shooting from three on 5 attempts. So like she is killing, like she is going crazy. So I went to look at the team and see how the team was doing. They're only 8 and 10. Then I look at the roster and Elena Deladon is on the team. So it like makes no sense to me. I'm like, how are they 8 and 10? But she hasn't played at all. So that's kind of
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
tragic,
get
honestly.
you.
It's been crazy. Yeah, I mean Tina Charles has been doing really well. It's just yeah, Della Don is definitely one of your go getters, and yeah, it has been a struggle. I mean, but that kind of speaks levels of to what they need to do with that team. They need to get another piece to kind of keep them in contention because that's not going to get it done if Della Don is gone and you can't really hold it.
You know.
Well, actually, what I'm saying, she hasn't played for the last 2 seasons. Last time she played was 2019.
Yeah, she's been out for injury, so that's just part of it.
Oh wow.
But
But yeah, for the most part, like it's been an interesting season, and I hope to watch more seasons moving forward. This is the one season I've been a little bit more involved because in previous seasons, like I would watch a WNBA game. I never had any issue watching a basketball game of any sort, whether it's women's, men's, no problem. I'll watch it. It's just I didn't really get as much involved because of the time frame in which they would show the games. But now that Facebook, as a matter of fact, that's another thing. Facebook is now showing their games on their site. Like so once in a while, I'll see hey, this team is playing, and they will show live streams of those games.
like for free, you don't have to
That's what's
fucking
up.
pay shit.
That's what's up.
That's
Yeah, that is what's up, man. This is. I feel that a lot of sports leagues should be doing that now. It's like, man,
Well, I mean,
I'd have to pay extra to watch a game that should be free to everybody to watch.
you
So
know, it's
Mario,
like
this is what
I
I'll
mean,
say in response to that. When you're looking at some of the bigger leagues in the world, like the NBA, NFL, stuff like that, they don't have a need for that. People are willing to pay for their product, so you definitely don't want to offer it for free. But in a situation with the WNBA and they're building and they're trying to like develop their
build up.
fan base
Yeah.
and develop, because we have a lot of conversations about, quote unquote, what's wrong with the WNBA. And it's small things, but ultimately, like, it's a solid product. It's just nobody really is exposed to it. So when you're looking for exposure, you kind of got to offer it in a way that's, easily accessible. And nothing's really more easily accessible than Facebook and for free.
yeah, and
Right,
later on down the line, I mean, because WNBA now has their own streaming service. It's WNBA League Pass, like NBA League Pass. But that's the thing. That's another thing as far as streaming services, because even NBA League Pass has to fix their shit, man. Because you pay so much for so like little, and there's so many black outages, and it's just crazy, man. Like it's like half of the time I was trying to watch a Mavs game, and half of the time they were blacked out. I was like, dude, this is bullshit. Like I'm
In
So you
Texas,
had a league
like
pass?
near Dallas.
yeah, I had for one point I did, and then I stopped it because I was like, this is bullshit. Like I'm not even getting anything out of
So I
this.
want to ask you this: do
Like
they offer? Can you like go back and watch old games too? on league pass?
Yeah, I mean that I would like once in a while I would because if like the Mavs weren't playing, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna watch a classic game, and they were pretty cool. Like you would see like NBA like old NBA Finals games and like just old games in general. Like I watched a Lakers Celtics game from the 1960s, dude, and it's crazy because like they were so much more, they were way more fucking strict as far as the way they would play the game. Like there were certain things you can't do now. I mean that you wouldn't be able to do back then that were freaking like travel. Like some of the things people do now would be considered a travel back then. It was crazy. Like
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, when you mention trouble, is like there today. I feel a lot of players get away with a lot of more traveling than I feel ever before because I feel like there's a lot of players I feel that they take more than 2 steps and the refs don't catch it. A lot. I feel like it's happened a lot more in the last, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years than ever before. I'm like, what the hell, dude?
Say some names, Mario.
Say what?
Say some names. Adam.
Well, I know LeBron would LeBron is a big offender. There are times where I see him, he'd take 3 steps. I'm just like, okay, and they didn't call it. Sometimes Durant would do it. It was more of the bigger name players today that I would see. I'm like, wait a minute. He took 3 steps, not.
I mean, everybody likes to talk on Harden. There's sometimes that yes he does, but then there's sometimes where if you read like where the rules, because again, I think where things get fuzzy is what is considered a gather step, because sometimes people are like, oh, that's a gather step, and then there's sometimes it's like, well, that I thought he already had gathered the ball, and now he's taken another extra step, so I'm confused where the gather step occurs. So it's just dependent on what you define a gather step.
The gather step should be when you pick up the ball, right? So the step that you take as you're picking up the ball, that's a free step. Mm-hmm. And then from there's 1, 2, and then you have to go up with whatever shot that you take.
Yeah, and I have noticed that there's sometimes people do get away with an extra step here and there, but again, part of it is, look, we blame the refs for a lot of shit, but sometimes I do agree that if it's a fast-paced sport like this, sometimes you do lose sight of what happened. So I guess you can give some leeway, but I don't know. There's a lot that needs to be at least addressed on that, but we'll just see what happens moving forward. And also just there's a lot of other issues like the way people like take fouls, and a lot of people have talked about it on this app. Like, when jumping into a player, they're looking into making it to where it's an offensive foul to do that now. I don't know if they've actually signed off on that, if that has actually become now the thing, or if it's still in talks. That's the only thing I don't know about.
Right. No, yeah, you did mention that last time. And then was it another foul? Like when a player jumps up, like makes a jump shot, like from the 3-point line, you try to go to block him and he falls on your foot. That's considered a foul now. I thought I read somewhere around like something like that.
Yeah. So there's 2 things. First of all, y'all remember back, like I vividly remember when Kobe and D Wade were in their prime, and the type of stuff they used to do to draw fouls is exactly the same as what's happening right now.
Exactly. And what's
pump fake, jump into you, bucket. I watched it 1,000 times. So that's number one. I just don't like when the older guys try to make it seem like there's something new happening. Like, bro, all the young guys that are doing this stuff got this from y'all.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. I would see Kobe do that so many times.
And he did a lot. Okay, but what's weird is I thought that was already addressed, because I could have sworn when that was going on, I heard that there was a rule already instated for that, but apparently there wasn't. So that's what, because I remember hearing about it from like news sources and outlets and shit, and then I just kept seeing it happening, and I'm like, well, are they actually enforcing this rule, or did they actually ever sign off on this rule? So I guess I don't know.
And then for the landing on a player's foot, so I mean, we all saw what happened with Kawhi a few years back, and some other players historically. Like, you got to give a player space to land, and if you don't, it's a foul automatically. So
because you could injure their you can injure their leg. Yeah,
exactly. So you keep as a, but I mean that's kind of more of a rule of thumb. I mean, I know it's actually in the stated rule now, but like generally amongst basketball players, that's a rule of thumb. Like you don't do that. Like you don't do that. Everybody just kind of knows that. Like there's only but so much closing out you're gonna do. Like
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Because it's about respect. At the end of the day, you gotta keep the guy safe. Like we're not here to get hurt. We're here to hoop.
Yeah. Um, but we all know the NBA's reputation. Sometimes they wait till the very last minute until it becomes a big problem because they're more about making money, and you know how sometimes the officiation can be with them. So, but at least it's getting addressed now. We'll see how the officiation keeps up with it.
But yeah,
Now, one of my biggest issues with officiating is the fact that everybody else. Well, no, here. My issue is how everybody else in the league gets fined for everything. Every little thing is a fine. I've yet to see a referee get fined for anything.
Bro, so much facts about that, man. You're right. That is a problem because there's some players that do something that's very benign and they fine them. And it's like, okay, but when a ref screws up, like royally screws up, and it's obvious because knowing the NBA and in any sport, there are cameras everywhere catching everything. And now I'm glad that the NBA is doing the replay like the NFL. If a ref screws up that, messed up the whole thing of the game, they should be fined as well. But I don't see that happening because, like I said, you know how the NBA be.
I mean, and again, see, there's always a double-edged sword and a two sides to everything, right? So with the ref, because the Hawks versus the Bucks series, there was one point where Trae Young stepped way too fucking far back, and he, got his ankle tweaked on a ref's shoe.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I remember that play. I think
Yeah.
you and I were watching it together that night.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy because everybody right after fire the ref, find the ref, and it's just like, okay, dude, but he just stepped way too far back. Like I don't know what you expect that's not the ref's fault. Like he wasn't expecting Trey to step that far back. That's just a freak incident. So there's some things that people need to keep into consideration. But yeah, if it's like a legitimate play that could fuck up like the momentum or just even the outcome of the series, then yeah, they most definitely should be fined. But what pisses me off is that nowadays the fucking press releases these like after game deals where like, oh well, we made this mistake here and this should have happened. It's just like, dude, that's just adding insult to injury. Like we've all fucking saw it. We knew you fucked
And
up.
that's all I'm about to say. Like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, we knew you fucked
Yeah,
up.
we know. We were
Like
there.
you
We
don't have
saw.
to tell us. How about you actually call it right or find the ref for making a bad call? Like, come on, dude.
But you guys can't deny that there's been instances where there was interference from refs, and they catch it, on video, but they don't rectify it. So, I mean, that's why it's like, if you're gonna and like you had an issue with makeup calls, dude. Yeah, the same thing with that. It's like, don't call it right the first time. Don't make it up with another stupid call just to call it fair. No, that's just wrong.
Yeah, because there are moments where they're like traveling or like because there are some moments where they do travel but they don't call it, but then there are moments that there's no traveling, like no sense of traveling anywhere. They just barely got the fucking ball and then out of nowhere travel. I'm like, what the fuck? That's bullshit. Like if you're gonna call it consistently, you
That's
know.
why, yeah, that's why I feel like when it comes to
Pura mierda,
travel,
way.
you see, Monway. I just feel that when it comes to the travel call, I feel that they need to clarify the definition again because, like I said, there's just too many times like I see him take more than 2 steps and they don't call. It's like, well, what is it? Is it 2 steps or 3 steps? What is it? And like I said, with the pick me up step or
The gather step.
the gather step. Sorry, the gather step. And then also, there's sometimes where I see instances of shuffling their feet and they don't call it. So, like,
I like to
know-
pick me up.
Sorry.
okay.
Okay. Repeat that one more time.
I said I like the pick me up step better. That's fire. I like that.
Pick me up step. Yeah, I mean that would be an interesting rename. Yeah, the pick me up. Yeah.
Sorry, it's like because I picked the ball up. I couldn't remember what you called it, but I just feel that there's certain calls that they need to re-clarify, especially in today's game. So,
Yeah,
well, that's
because I
just
think
me.
Yeah, no, I agree because things get muddied and then you get people angry at each other, and it's just like there's no point in that. That's unnecessary animosity when we should just be enjoying the fucking game. So yeah, that's something we just need to that they just need to address.
Mm.
But anyhow, as far as like the WNBA's like leaders right now, I mean, Wnba is like 26 points per game, with Jonquel Jones and Brittany Griner and the other top three. I'm surprised Brianna Stewart isn't scoring a lot more. That's kind of crazy to me. Sue Bird again is leading assists with Vandersloot and Candace Parker behind her. Rebounds, Jonquel Jones, Sylvia Fowles, Derica Hamby. I'm actually kind of surprised that Cam Beige doesn't get as much rebounds, but I guess maybe because there's a lot of shooting more so, I guess, within the WNBA, which is probably why it kind of just bounces too far. But then blocks Nafisia Collier and Sylvia Foles and Jonquel Jones, steals Jonquel Jones, Candace Parker. See, Candace Parker's just always somewhere in these, man. It's crazy.
One of the
Uh,
things I don't like about the WNBA though, why do they
Yeah,
play?
what's up?
Why do they play less minutes?
I I really don't know, man.
Like some of the like things that they do. Like the only thing that I feel like makes sense is none of it makes sense. I wouldn't even say because I had a conversation with on this app with a girl who's a D1 basketball player, and we were talking about just ways to fix the NBA WNBA in terms of offering a better product so more people become interested. And one of the things that I was talking about was like not shortening the court, not making the court dimensions smaller, like nothing. Like the court should be exactly the same like an NBA court, in my opinion. And also, the ball came in the conversation. And I said I figured like okay maybe the ball kind of makes sense, and she kind of like stopped me and was like nah that don't even make sense either because when you're looking at the girls who actually do this when they're coming up they understand like okay in order for us to really get nice we have to play with the boys, you know what I mean, and playing with the boys aren't about to play with a girl ball, they're playing with a boy's ball, so you get used to that ball. So it's
Yeah,
yeah,
like
exactly.
exactly.
So
So
ultimately there really should be no difference at all other than there are women in these jerseys. Like that's it. Like
Exactly.
exactly.
forgive me,
Forgive me,
guys.
guys.
Like I said,
Like I
I
said, I
haven't
haven't
kept up
kept up
with
with
women's
women's
basketball,
basketball,
but
but
they
they
were
were
altering the
altering the
size of
size
the
of the
court to
court
the
to the
ball and
ball and
everything
everything
based
based
on
on
because they're
because they're
women and
women and
not
not
keeping it
keeping
the
it the
same.
same.
Like,
Like
so so the
wow.
wow,
court height is the same, but the court dimensions, so like the size of the paint, 3 point line, stuff like that, that's shortened. Um, and the size of the ball is slightly smaller, like a centimeter in circumference or something like that. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, slightly less minutes. They play 10 minutes instead of a 12 minute game for their quarters. Um, and I believe
huh?
that is it.
Wow, yeah, that
Yeah.
is
I mean, yeah, you're right. I feel just by thinking about this, like, yeah, there shouldn't be any difference when it comes to pro men's basketball or pro women's basketball. Because if you look at it like in college, there's no difference in college men's or college women's basketball. They play on the same court, they play with the same ball and everything, except for maybe the shot clock is shortened by 5 seconds. But other than that, it's all the same. So why are you? Yeah, I agree with you, Naz. That doesn't make them as sense at all.
And see, this is what pisses me off because I brought this up one time on a room, and because everyone's like, oh, they should lower the basket because I think Shaq mentioned it, right? And I talked about it to people. It's like, no, because then that's going to give people another reason to shit on the NBA. I mean the WNBA. That's going to be another reason they shit on the WNBA if they lower the rim. I don't agree with that. That's bullshit. They should leave it alone because they're already getting shit for like half of the stuff that's going on there. This just is going to add an extra reason to slap them in the face, and that's not right.
And I
you
think
know
I think part of it is the dunking aspect of the game because like there is basically like females don't dunk a lot, so it's like it's not an exciting it's not as exciting of a game. Like bro, if you watching basketball just to see people dunk, like you gonna have a tough time.
exactly because
You
even
gonna
in
have a
the
tough time
NBA, not everyone is
because
dunking.
like in reality, bro, like even if you watch it, even when you watch a WNBA game, bro, like 6% of the shots made in the NBA game are dunks. The
Exactly.
rest of it
Exactly.
is jump shots, layups, like floaters, all types of stuff. Like dunks are rare. They're not, every play just somebody's dunking. Like it's not AAU basketball, bro. So come on, bro. Like
It's
You
not
know what I
it's
mean?
too
2K.
much
You know what I mean?
weirdo.
It's not. It's not NBA 2K. Yeah, you're right. It's that's why. Wow, for the people to think that they go to see dunks, like, bro, that's very normal. You don't you don't know basketball at all. If that's all you think it's all about, no. So
Es
that's
porque
a
esa gente son ignorantes, güey. It's just ignorance in general.
yeah,
That's the problem, dude. The ignorance of people. It, there's so much more to the game than dunking, and if you don't see that, that's really on you. You know, if that's your argument as to why it's not as entertaining, dude. I've seen I went to a WNBA game. I was just as entertained with a beautiful jump shot and an amazing pass and a crazy reverse layup because they fucking do it. Than a dunk, dude. Like it's a dunk is fun and all because I mean, and it's not like there's players that don't do it. Like Brittany Griner, Cam Page can do it. Like there's a lot of players that can. It's just
right,
not as
because they're
common.
but yeah, because they're the bigger ladies that have the reach to do so. But yeah,
And then also, what I think we also have to take into consideration is just the culture based around basketball. Like as far as women are concerned, like guys are like y'all seen how the elevation and growth of the actual system for basketball has become. Like we're talking about, like Mark earlier, you were talking about watching '60s basketball and how restricted they were, and I'm sure you saw the level of athleticism those guys had as well. Like they could move, they could run, but not necessarily as much jumping over the rim, like head at the rim type of athleticism
Yeah.
happening. But then as we progress, now you're seeing freaking seventh graders, you know what I mean, dunking and doing windmills and shit. Like shit is crazy now, and I think that's because of the popularity of the sport amongst men. I think if
And
the
just also the
sport
progression, yeah.
exactly, and I think if that same kind of transition happened for women, I think you do start to see more athletic women, more women who can, actually get up.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, uh,
yeah. In the end, it's just for me. I think it's really just coming at the women's sports with a more open mind.
mm,
Because if you just come at it thinking, oh well, and that's the thing that pisses me off. It's like, oh well, they're women. It's not as good as men's, and I really despise that ideal because these women are the best in their category.
yeah,
So what's the problem with watching women's sports? You
none.
know, yeah, there's none. So it's just like come at it with an open mind, a more like broad perspective than just something more narrow minded. Because I trust you, like trust me, it will be a more enjoyable game if you come at it from that angle with
Yeah,
positivity.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, look, dude. It's like yes, men and women. There is an athleticism and strength difference, of course, but that's why they have two separate leagues: one for the men's, one for the women's. Because if you do a co-ed kind of experience, of course, the men are going to outdo the women anytime. However, you got to give credit to what the women are able to do in their own, I guess what's the word, like in their own realm. It's still something to be. There's still something to be said about it. It's just come on. They are great at what they do. It's like men have their strengths, women have their strengths. So you got to respect that.
and my only thing, like the only thing that I'm 100% behind women's, like specifically the WNBA, like because they're great basketball players. The only thing that I'm not necessarily in agreement with is when they start talking about money. I seen there was a lot of campaigns, like over the past couple years about there should be equal pay in the WNBA and all that stuff, and it's like I can't necessarily vouch for that under the guidelines that I feel like it was presented, which was basically guys in the league are making millions, and women's basketball are making like to the hundred thousands, something like that. It's like yeah, but guys in the league are also generally the product. The league itself is like $1 billion industry or like $1 billion company. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Probably closing in on $1 trillion, honestly.
Oh,
And if you looking at that in comparison to the WNBA, is not as much money to be spread around. Now, I personally agree that in terms of overall percentage, right? So percentage of revenue, how much of that is going to the players? I agree that that should be exactly the same. So like, if the salary cap in the NBA is capped at 30% or 33% of the revenue of whatever team, then it should be exactly the same in the WNBA. But that don't mean that the paychecks automatically are going to come out to, you know what I mean, what the guys in the league are getting. You
Well,
feel me?
and the thing is, I do hope that we get to a point where it does end up being the same. But again, part of it is it sucks to say this, but part of it is the fact because the WNBA is still relatively new, that it's not at the same level viewership wise or even just fan base wise
Yeah.
Yeah.
as the NBA. It's why that happens. But I still feel that there is still some push that needs to be done to like get it to that point. And again, whether it takes
Hey guys,
I'm so sorry. My bad. I accidentally forgot to put myself off of mute. It'll be in the video, but yeah. So what I was saying is like, um, oh, I'm sorry. Wait, did he leave? I'm so sorry, man.
I guess he had to go.
Yeah,
Oh,
Oh, I'm so sorry, Alex. Okay, but yeah. Anyhow, um, what I was saying, because I don't know if you heard me, because I think I had it on mute, but I was saying it on here, is that I hope at some point there becomes like some sort of movement to where it does become equal. But because of the fact that, again, the league itself is not on the same level as the NBA as far as viewership, as far as notoriety, as far as everything, because again, they've had a longer history. It's not going to be the same for a while, but the hope is that it does get to that point, that it does become nurtured to the point where they are able to be paid a similar rate. But right now, I can see why that's not the case.
Well, yeah, of course. If you put this in perspective, the NBA was founded back in 1946. So the NBA has been around since it's been around for 75 years. So they've been able to work up to where what it was to now. So that is, and then you look at the WNBA was founded in 1996. So it's only been around 25 years. So and oh, fun fact, David Stern helped found the WNBA. I didn't know that. um, so yeah, there's that big gap in years that you have to take in consideration. And like you said about viewership, it's only been around 25 years, so it's still relatively young of a league. So it'll be a while before it gets to that same kind of level the NBA is at right now. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind for women to be paid what they're due, but as far as like you said, how where the leagues are at in this point in time and how much money they make and the how much money the industry has, yeah, unfortunately the WNBA is not there yet, but I believe it will get there, so where they're going to be paid sooner or later. Women players will be paid as much or close to as men. We'll see. I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's just timing in general. But as far as the WNBA season has been, it's probably like a really good start, and overall just the season in general has been pretty good, especially now that it's gaining more traction and people are trying to at least help like raise awareness and spread information about the sport itself. Then I think we'll be in a good spot. And it should grow to a good spot in the years to come. And I'm excited, and I'm hoping to cover more WNBA sports in the future. So as for now, that's really all I have to say about the WNBA. So let's kind of just talk a little bit briefly about the Summer Olympics. So yesterday it was the starting ceremonies, and then today is day two. And right now we're gonna have softball, which is USA versus Mexico. I'm a little conflicted on that, but as you can see, I am wearing Mexico gear, so I guess I'm not overly conflicted.
Arre, bro. Arre.
Arre, la raza ese. But anyhow, um, women's beach volleyball is USA versus China at 8 p.m. And then women's gymnastics, the qualifiers are at 9 p.m. Softball, USA versus Australia. So there's two opening rounds. So I'm guessing I don't know if it's women's or men's softball. I don't know if there's two teams, but we'll see. And
I
then
don't think men's has a. I don't think men's has a softball team. If they do, that's cool. But I think they have two different women's softball teams.
interesting.
Well, you know how many every event there's always a different group of each.
Like an
Just
A team and a B team.
yeah, that's what I remember the Olympics always doing is like, in the same event they have one team and then another one they have a different team. So yeah, that's what I believe it is because I don't think there's a men's softball team because as far as I know, only women have played softball, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
Yeah, and then as far as what else is to come today is the swimming finals, men's 400-meter individual medley. There's also the 400-meter freestyle, women's 400-meter individual medley, and women's 4x10-meter freestyle relay at 9:30.
Or by 100, you mean?
Oh, sorry, far by 100. My bad. I misread that. But yeah, overall, like it's going to be an interesting day. But overall, for the Olympics, I just it's a very strange situation now because I think a lot of sports are kind of either in full swing or ending. So it's kind of like we're not certain if people are really going to be that involved or interested in the Olympics. I mean, I like watching the Olympics, but I just got to figure out like what channels there because I guess CBS is the Olympics. I gotta.
Well, CBS will show it. NBC mostly shows it because I think they have a contract with the Olympics to show it all the time. But most of the major networks should be showing it. That way, they can capture different events at once. So.
Mm-hmm. So that was today's schedule. Tomorrow, I'll also list tomorrow's just for you all to know. For like small little announcement. So men's 66 kilo. Wait, what? Oh yeah, those are okay. I see. Like men's, these are the weight divisions.
Yes.
So the judo medal rounds. Interesting. So judo has been starting. Men's soccer group play. Also soccer in the Olympics. Nice. I remember. Didn't Mexico win gold last Olympics?
No, it was Brazil.
Forgot who won gold last Olympics. I know they won
Brazil.
in one.
Brazil.
No, I know, but like there was one Olympics where Mexico won gold.
Oh, I don't recall which. I think it was the women's team.
Somebody did, but like
I think
either
it was
way,
the women's team that won the Olympics, the gold in soccer last Olympics. But I know the men's Brazil team won gold. I think
last
for the first
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brazil goes against the Ivory Coast today. Men's and women's fencing medal rounds. Ooh, fencing. What I know, what a weird sport to like, huh? No, I like because
No,
I
it's
don't
a
know.
good sport. It's a good sport. I'm not just saying fencing. Oh, fencing. I was like, oh, fancy.
Oh, fancy. Quite fancy. Yes. Okay. Like what is it? Nigel Thornberry. Yeah, smashing. Yes. Okay. So then the men's and women's fencing rounds. Men's basketball preliminary round, USA versus France. Ooh, that's going to be interesting because the men's team was struggling a little bit in the the preliminaries. So like the first, well, I mean, not that this is the preliminary, but
qualifying rounds. You mean
qualifying rounds? Yeah, they were struggling at first, but yeah, we're going to see USA versus France, and that's going to be an interesting matchup. Softball, USA versus Japan. And then swimming finals, women's 100-meter butterfly, men's 100-meter breaststroke, women's 400-meter freestyle, and men's 4x100-meter relay. So two days of swimming. So that's going to be fun. So that's at least your Olympic stuff occurring. And sooner or later, we'll talk a little bit more about baseball stuff because today I just didn't know because I feel we were kind of running a little over gas. Yeah, that's almost 2 hours. But if anything, we could just talk maybe for like 5 minutes about just random shit for the rest of the episode, just to chill and shit, man. So let's see what you've been up to lately, Nas.
Working on a mixtape.
Mixtape, ooh, nice.
Yeah, kind of a Lil Wayne style tape. I put out a tape when I was like 18, 19. The summer after I graduated high school, called Me Mixes, and it was just like 6 or 7 songs of me just over records that I liked at the time, and just just talking about some stuff. You know what I mean? I kind of treat the music stuff like a diary, pretty much. It's just
nice.
You know what I mean?
Well, somos músicos, dude.
We're musicians ourselves, dude. We like listening to any kind of music, really. So if at any point in time, man, just kind of I guess you have me on Twitter, I think. If not,
Either
Yeah, I
way,
believe I do.
just send me a clip of one of your mixes, dude, because I'm always interested in listening to people's stuff. Because I mean, with me, like I just do stuff on like Smule, which is a karaoke app where I do covers and then collab with other people. I mean, I'm if anything, I'm more of like a lyricist type guy.
What up, man? I'm your
um,
guy.
yeah,
Your guy, bro.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like I can write melodies, I can write lyrics. It's just getting the overall key structure and the theory. As far as setting up the chord line is a little hard for me at times, but at some point I'll get to it. Pero, hey, Mario, ¿necesitas ir?
And a little bit, but we can wrap it up, and I'm sure.
Okay. Pues yeah, I mean, as far as that, that's what I've been doing, just mainly like covers and just collaborations with other people. And that's always fun, man. But yeah, like music is an amazing part of our lives. I mean, I also have, besides este canal aquí, this Mark Tep 25 channel, I also have my Mark the Tenor channel, which again, I just post a lot of my stuff, whether it's me performing like the classical music that I did for my like degrees work, which I hope to get back to like singing opera and art songs, shit like that. But
But
I also would like to, write music as well, because I think that would be fun. But yeah, so if anything, Nas, like you just been working on these mixtapes like for how long, man?
I just started working on it on this particular mixtape like this week. I kind of started putting down songs I wanted to put verses over. Just trying to see how I wanted to attack them. Specifically how I wanted the concept to come out, stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty much in the early stages. I do want to get this done within the next month, though. Shouldn't take me that long at all. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I can't wait to hear more of it when it comes. And then, like I said, I copied that link. I'm gonna paste it and listen to it.
most definitely, man.
Appreciate that,
I'm
bro.
always down to listen to new shit.
Yeah, this that
But
that
anyhow,
tape
here.
that tape is from like
Pero ándale pues.
3-4 years ago.
Oh, okay, awesome. Pero ándale pues, dude. It was great talking with you. Thank you so much, Nas, for coming up to speak with.
With us,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
like
Thanks for
last,
having me.
like
I swear to God, last episode was a little hard to get anybody up here, but it's always good when we get to talk with people, because that's what we want to do. We want to talk to people. We want to grow. We want to learn, and
Yeah,
it's
man.
it's always a blessing to talk to people, man. Pero ándale pues, mi gente, ya estuvo. Síguenos en el otro episodio y ándale pues. Sorry. One thing I was trying to say. So one thing I did forget before we go. My bad. I'm already starting the ending, but I forgot to mention one thing. I always post the audio version of these on through Anchor to put onto Spotify. And I've been forgetting for the past, no sé cuánto 14 episodios más o menos así. I've been forgetting, güey. I've been forgetting to say this. Like on Anchor, you can donate as little as $1, because I'm wanting to at least, try to make something out of this. So if you go on Anchor, feel free to like make a small donation to kind of keep the channel growing, or the podcast growing, just so I can do a little bit more with it, because it would help me a lot. Because I do a lot with what I have, but it would be nice to have a little bit more to kind of expand. Pero ándale pues, mi gente. God, my brain just went dead for a second because I thought I was about to say something else. And how am I gonna end this freaking episode? Hasta el próximo, mi gente. This is all I'm gonna say. Ándale pues. Adiós. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
Y también sigue a Mark Tip 25 en Spotify Greenroom, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram y TikTok.